What do you think of where we are with Syria?
Well, I mean, first of all, I disagree with Donald about how well the Putin op-ed was crafted. In fact, I think the fact that it antagonized so many people suggests that he overreached. I mean, you know, when he just exuded hypocrisy when he talks about the importance of avoiding force, this coming from somebody who presided over the deaths of 200,000 people in Chechnya, who talks about how God created everyone alike, unless they're gay. I mean, I think that that just antagonizes people. And I thought it was authentic. I thought he actually wrote it because no PR agency in the world would allow him to insult American exceptionalism.
But what it has done, it has brought him a little bit closer to his dream scenario, which is twofold. One, keeping Assad, his mate, in power. But secondly, perhaps removing a lot of his chemical weapons, which could, if they ended up with the rebels, be shifted to someone like Chechnya and used against him.
That's true. It also, however, potentially buys him into a possible solution. I mean, now he has a stake, he has some ownership over this possible deal, and we'll see where it goes. I'm still skeptical. My best bet is that it will fall apart, but it's not impossible. And that would be such a stride for international security if we were to get, you know, the bulk of those chemical weapons removed.
Is that enough, though? When you're President Obama and you create your own red line, you state it very publicly, is it enough to then not take any action if that red line is crossed? Military action.
I mean, I think that while we have a peace process in place that may lead to the removal of chemical weapons, then I don't think we should strike. But I think it may well fall apart, and in that case, I think that we should. And indeed, I think we should be also more aggressive in helping the rebels. I think that there is some hope that we can turn the tide enough on the ground, not that the Assad regime will fall, but that he will lead to serious peace talks, and that is going to be the way to end this.
Part of the problem, it seems to me, is that with the mess in Iraq and the mess in Afghanistan, it's kind of clouded the whole view of any type of military action. Whereas you rightly, I read you writing a piece about this, you cite, you know, Sierra Leone, Mali, the Ivory Coast, Bosnia and Kosovo, all were examples of short military strikes have been pretty effective in saving lives.
You know, 10 years ago, it broke my heart to see so many of my fellow liberals embracing the Iraqi invasion. Today, it breaks my heart to see how many people are so against the use of force in any situation that they're willing to acquiesce in the slaughter of Syrians.
That's exactly how I feel. I mean, I feel that the British Parliament, for example, has now made the wrong call twice. They were wrong about Iraq, where there was no evidence of WMD and none turned up. And I think they've been wrong about this because I think that when somebody has so brazenly used chemical weapons against all international law, you have a moral duty to take action.
Yeah, and you know, I think that people bring up the hypocrisy issue, that we intervene in some places, we don't in others, and that's absolutely true. You know, I wish we had done more in Darfur or elsewhere, but at the end of the day, if we can inconsistently save some lives against some threats, that's much better than acquiescing consistently in every kind of suffering.
However much he's dithered and zigzagged and changed his mind over this, as President Obama clearly has, if it ends up with the chemical weapons being removed and being seen to be removed from Assad, but he stays in power, is that still a victory of any type?
That would be a real win for international security if those chemical weapons were removed. If he were deterred from using them again, yes, that would be a step forward. But, you know, make no mistake, I mean, I'm a fan of President Obama's foreign policy in general, but this has not been his finest hour.